Oh, Indiana definitely influences my writing. Each of my books that are published so far have Indiana characters. Either they are literally in Indiana, where the story takes place, or in the case of my first book, there are people who live in the Chicago area, but they are from Indiana, just as I was. And I think, I don't know, I think the reason I became a writer has a lot to do with growing up where I did. I grew up not just in Indiana, but in rural Indiana. I could get to the library once in a while, but until I could drive, I really couldn't get anywhere. My family lives way out in the country still, to this day, lives very far out in the country. It's a lonely kind of way to grow up, but it's an excellent breeding ground for fiction writing. A couple of different moments where I decided I wanted to be a writer. I started writing when I was 6 or 7 years old. I loved Ramona Quimby stories, and I noticed one day that there was another name on the cover of these Ramona Quimby books. Who was this Beverly Cleary person? What was she doing on the cover of these books? And I realized, oh, there are people who write books, which means I could write a book, maybe. So I tried. I didn't do too good a job of it. It took a long time before I was able to ever finish a story, but I've always kind of been a writer because of that moment. The first novel I ever wrote did not get published when I wrote it. So I worked for 2.5 years on a novel, writing it and then revising it. And I revised and revised and revised so much that it started to fall apart in my hands. So I put it away in what they call the drawer. I have a file on my computer called the drawer, and that's where it went, and it stayed there for about 6 or 7 years while I wrote and published 2 other novels. And then at the end of, turning in my second novel to my editor, I had to go, to the well, looking for the next idea. But instead I went to the drawer and took out that book to see if I could make it the book that I had hoped it would be originally. I rewrote the entire thing, and it was published in April as the day I died. So that book was 10 years in the making, from the moment I started writing it as a short story to the moment it became published this year.